it's really hard, to find a provider in America. Things are so backwards there. So it's just like what you get is what you get. You just don't know what you'll end up with in America. But here it's a certain tradition where the man has to provide, he has to protect, he has to be very in his masculine. And it's a breath of fresh air for us ladies. So just saying that, like, the point I'm making is most men here are traditional, but there are some men who, you know, will view you as an opportunity. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lala's Journey, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my honest experience as a single woman here in Africa, what the process is like, experiences that I've had, things like that. Recently, I've heard of um, a few women being deleted because I can't say the actual word on YouTube, but basically just mysteriously deleted out of Gambia and out of this world. And it's really, 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 really saddening to hear that because these women were all, independent entrepreneurs and, they came out here seemingly on the same journey as I, if not their own, specific journey. And it was ended mysteriously. And they don't really have the facts on what happened to each woman, and there's just a lot left up in the air. I don't like to talk about that type of experience because I've experienced so much loss in my life, and I just would hate someone to be given a diagnosis on the people that I've lost. So I'm not going to go too much into the details of what happened, but if you look on YouTube, you'll see plenty of information about how these women ended up mysteriously like disappearing and like, yeah, what happened? Like, there's just a lot unanswered, and a lot of people are starting to see this and be afraid. But let me just give you guys a little backstory on why I came here, what my life was like before I came to Ghana and Africa in general. So the reason I came to Africa is just to have like a self-discovery journey. Like, I knew that my journey would not be easy because nothing in my life has been easy. And I love it that way because it builds my character, it builds my wisdom, my strength. I love to take risks. And I love things that are challenging. So I knew the journey would be challenging for me because I never had a silver spoon. Everything I worked for on my own. And this journey has been so eye-opening for me, and I've been through so much. But in America, I've lived in Atlanta, I've lived in LA, I've lived in Brooklyn, like all of these inner city areas, and we all know how dangerous it is there for women, especially Black women. We're just like this target, and it's this gender war going on in America and all of these things. And that gave me anxiety living in America because just after I left, I remember this woman was attacked by a group of guys because she wouldn't respond the way they liked at a liquor store when she was getting a bottle of whatever, liquor after work. And these guys just attacked her. And I'm like, wow, that could have been me going to get a bottle of wine after work, and I get attacked because I'm not giving someone attention. But, there's lots of femicide in America. So that's something I really wanted to get away from, especially now I have a little girl. Yeah, so those are one of the reasons. That's not the complete reason why I left, but that's one of the things that gave me anxiety in America. So it made coming to Africa that much easier. But just based on the experiences that I went through, like dangerous situations in America, I have a certain level of discernment now. So when I started traveling alone internationally, I think my first international trip was Amsterdam, and I was scared out of my mind because I just watched the movie Taken, and I was fairly young at that time. I was like 23 years old, so I didn't know the language, I didn't know what to expect, and I made it. Everything was okay. I used Google Translate. I just used my street smarts. So, when I came to Ghana in 2018, I had already traveled internationally twice alone. So, as you begin to go along on your journey, wherever you choose to travel, you will start to learn certain ways to move and certain ways not to move. So the tips that I'm going to give you, it is more specific to Ghana, but this can generally happen anywhere in the world. Like these things that are happening to these women, what's happening to these women could be happening to anybody in America. Actually, it happens all the time in America. So, it's troubling to hear because, it's one of the expats. And then we start to wonder, like, am I a target as a single woman? Am I a target in Africa? And to be honest, as women, we're a target everywhere, especially in a traditional culture. So let's get into it. Let's get into the tips. Let's get into the video. Let's get into my personal experience. And I'm not just going to keep it all the way honest with you guys. So first things first, when you come to Africa from the West, especially America, it's a huge culture shock as far as gender roles. There's times that I will be in line and the men will be behind me and they will get assisted first because in this culture it's patriarchal. They feel like the man's business is more important. The women doesn't have any business because they're usually homemakers. But there are a lot of independent women in Ghana, and that's one of the things that I love about Ghana. But it's still a traditional culture for the most part. So a lot of people stick to the tradition. Some people, do things a little different. But for overall, like, things are very traditional here. The women are very reserved. There's just like so much that is different here than it is in America and Jamaica. So I just want to make you guys aware of this and how to protect yourself when you come into Africa for the first time alone as a single woman. Okay, you guys, another fact and tip as a single woman in Africa is most men will not take you serious. Even women will not sometimes take you serious during business because they're wondering, like, where's your husband? Like, where's the man? Where's your man? Like, he should be talking business, and especially if they're more like old school, like in traditional, and they move traditionally. Like, this is what you're gonna expect coming to Africa. Like, especially if you could become very emotional during a business matter. I think when you're in a traditional environment, it's very wise to move like a lady, but think and talk like a man. More logically, take the emotion out of it. Get straight to the facts. That's the best way to deal with these men, but still be, ladylike. Because if you come at them like aggressively or um you could, you intentionally could hurt their ego, like it's not gonna go well. And I know this just off experience. I know that when I deal with people more logically and I take the emotion out of it and I'm still, soft and ladylike, soft spoken, you know, things go well for me here, in business. But sometimes I don't like having to, you know, kind of like people please in a way because I really want to be like how I am in New York, like just, straight to the point, blunt, but I can't be like that here. So it kind of like stifles my personality. So instead of doing that, I usually Like when I first came here, I would have local guy friends that can help me, ask the prices of things, tell me like, what everything costs, so that I get used to the prices, just to see how everything moves. If I'm doing any type of business, I have them speak for me. If I'm buying like furniture, I have them ask the prices for me, just so I make sure like, and when they would ask the prices, I'll be way around the corner, so they don't see me, and he'll come and tell me like this was the price. So these are things that I did. I just use my discernment based on my experience in life to say like, okay, this is the best way to handle this. And it saved me a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of back and forth, negotiation. So keep that in mind. Okay, another fact and tip here is coming to Africa. Ah, it's so much different for us Western women, because to find a provider, it's really hard, to find a provider in America. Things are so backwards there. So it's just like what you get is what you get. You just don't know what you'll end up with in America. But here it's a certain tradition where the man has to provide, he has to protect, he has to be very in his masculine. And it's a breath of fresh air for us ladies. So just saying that, like, the point I'm making is most men here are traditional, but there are some men who, you know, will view you as an opportunity. Um, Especially if they're in a different economic class than you. Like, they're making a lot less money. These men may view you as an opportunity. Now, there are many successful Ghanaian guys, so don't come here with the generalization that every man wants to use you for a green card. No, that's not the case. Okay, there are men who are Ghanaian, they're successful, they're happy to be in Ghana, they don't want to go to the West, they don't want to use you for a green card. And, you know, the only way you can really tell the difference between the two type of men is using your street smarts. Like, you have to, the best thing for you to do is date within your social economic class, date with, if someone, if has he graduated college, if that's important for you, date someone within that class, within that, on that level, or if it's important for you for someone to have traveled throughout the world to see, to open their minds more, then date someone on that level, because more than likely when someone has seen the world, they're not desperate for a green card. You know what I mean? If someone has graduated from college and they have the wisdom and at least the drive to learn about American culture and to realize like it isn't what it seems, they're not desperate to come to America or use you for a green card. So to tell between the ones that are trying to use you or the ones that are trying to, just align with you, you just have to use your street smarts. And, it can be kind of tricky because some people can pretend, as if they have it. And, there are different things that people do here for money than they do in America. But, like I said, there's good people and bad people everywhere. So you just have to use your discernment when it comes to that. And just know, like, there are certain red flags you can look out for. Like, if people start telling you, like, they love you on the first day, more than likely they have some type of motive, because nobody can fall in love with you on the first day. They may be infatuated with you or something like that, but no one can love you on the first date. So that's a red flag right there. They're moving things along a little too quickly. There may be some motive, but that's up to you as a person based on your past experiences to use your discernment and tell, like, is he using me or not? But I don't want you guys to take this information and think to yourself like that every guy is looking for a green card in Africa. No, they are users, abusers, and lovers everywhere in the world. So you just have to use your discernment, because even though guys are the same everywhere, they have different tricks in different environments, different locations. So you just have to move wisely to, you know, read between the lines. Okay, the next fact and tip is in Africa in general, like, women are more conservatively dressed at most times. Now, West Africa is not as conservative as East Africa. So they are more Americanized here in Ghana. Not overall, but you'll see more of that here than you would see in East Africa. So I feel more at home here in West Africa. It's a lot easier for me to be myself, but there are some times I will get mixed looks. And that's especially when I wear my compression gym clothes. They're just looking like, what? Like, why is it so tight? But that makes it comfortable for me to exercise. So I wear those type of clothing, and I get mixed looks sometimes. But when you're in the city, I don't get those looks. So if you want to be more like you are in America without the funny looks, get a place in the city. You more than likely won't get any funny looks at all, because they're used to seeing more Americans in the city. But I like to live more outside of the city, but close to the city. So, that's my situation now. So I'm closer to, like, I've lived in a village. I've lived now, outside of the village, but I still get, looks here and there because it's outside of the city. So another tip I want to give you guys is definitely do not dress suggestively in the city at night in places like Osu, East Legon, all of the areas where people have money. There's lots of prostitution that goes on in those areas. And I had to learn the hard way that I need to move like they do in Rome in this situation right here, because I wasn't aware of the prostitution in Ghana. And, I need to make a video to go in more in depth about it. If you guys want a video like that, let me know. But I have always lived outside of the city in a village. So when I started to explore the city, I wanted to hit a few nightclubs and, just see what living in the city would feel like. And I remember getting a hotel in that area so I could be closer to the people that I was networking with at the time, and to, see what the nightlife is like. And I like to go for a walk. I've lived in LA, I've lived in Atlanta, I lived in New York. All of these places you can go for a stroll. Like, that's something I enjoy doing. But I'll do it any time of the day, daytime, nighttime. But here, it can be mistaken as you are a prostitute if you walk at night, because Ghanaian women don't do that. They don't go for walks in the middle of the night. And it doesn't matter what you're wearing, because I was mistaken for a prostitute and I was wearing the most conservative clothing. Like, this guy assumed I was a prostitute and my clothes were just so conservative. Honestly, I was going to buy something across the street, but the strip that I crossed over, like the intersection that I crossed over, there are lots of prostitutes on that street. And I wasn't really aware of it. I wasn't really looking at surroundings, because I'm not aware of it. Because in America, how the prostitutes were dressed, like it just looks like regular women having a regular night out. So that's what I assume coming from the environment I'm used to in Brooklyn. Like women just, they're not prostituting if they're just wearing a nice, nightclub dress and heels. They may just be going out on the town. Some women go out alone in America and they're not looking to be working women. But here, that's very rare that you see women walking the strip at night here. So it's not like a walking type of environment. I don't know. Maybe some other African countries they are, but the ones that I've been to, like most women don't go for strolls. So this guy assumed that I was a prostitute because I was spending a little time, taking my time, going back to my hotel, just walking, listen to my headphones. I love to walk and listen to my headphones. This is something I always did in LA, always did in New York, you know. And yeah, and I've always had a dog too, so there's something that just by habit I do. But yeah, like you might be mistaken as a prostitute if you're walking in certain areas in the city that prostitutes are usually located. So take that in mind. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you're not giving out any mixed signals. This is pretty much the end of my video, you guys, but I want to give you some last tips to follow just to keep yourself safe as a woman when you're traveling internationally to any country. So, number one is do not go to secluded areas, walk in secluded areas at night alone. You don't do this anywhere in the world. Please don't do it. That's just making you easy prey, especially if you're a smaller woman, or if you just look vulnerable. So most women look vulnerable when we're walking alone at night. So if you have to ask a local to walk with you to your location, do that. If you have to get on a motorcycle and ask him to drive you, do that. But do not walk alone in secluded areas in Africa or anywhere in the world, really. So that's number one. Number two is be private with your personal information. Everybody doesn't have to know who you're here to visit. Just because they ask you who is your husband, you do not have to answer. You do not owe anybody an explanation. So you could be a private book or you could just lie. That's my advice to you because it leaves you less vulnerable to any bad motives that anyone may have for you. It's anywhere in the world though. So yeah, just be private, don't be an open book. Or just lie. Do not go on walks at night in areas where there's high prostitution. I'm not saying that it's leaving you open to any danger, but you never know, because actually when I was walking in Osu, going back to my hotel, a car tried to run me off the road. And I was like, was that intentional? I think it was because they assumed I was a prostitute and maybe they just don't like prostitutes and they try to run me off the road or just scare me. But you just never know what type of danger it may lead you into. So, or that misunderstanding, if it may lead you into danger or not. So just be aware. Be aware of your surroundings and, the cultural differences. Be careful on dating sites, okay? Because I do hear that there's lots of prostitutes on these dating sites. And let me make one thing clear. Most of these prostitutes, actually all of them are from foreign countries like Nigeria or different places all over Africa. I'm not going to say know the names of prostitutes because I don't know. I've never, met these women, but most of them are not Ghanaian because I hear that's not their culture. Like, so people come here because they hear about the tourism here and it's bringing money to the country. So they have business here. Yeah, but we're not used to seeing streetwalkers in America anymore. That was like in the 90s, the 80s. women were walking the streets. Now everything is electronic in America, so it's quite a culture shock. So yeah, just being aware of the cultural differences in your surroundings when you're going for a night out. I would say go with a friend when you're walking at nights. Yeah, just to be safe. If you want to fit in, this is the last tip. Just be more reserved, because especially if you come into Ghana or anywhere in Africa, like most women are just way more, yeah, most women are just way more reserved in Africa. So in Jamaica, we have carnival. We do the wild dancing, but overall, Jamaican women are very reserved. But when I went to Zulu Festival, we're not reserved when it comes to dancing, especially dancing with a partner. Like, it's just part of our culture to whine. And usually I'm whining by myself, I'm dancing by myself. But I met some friends there and I danced with one guy and then I danced with another one for a short second because there was no chemistry in our dancing. Like, it wasn't a good dance. So I danced with one guy and a short time with another guy. And these girls are just giving me these looks like, like as if I'm being judged, but I don't really care about being judged because I was judged when I moved to America from Jamaica. Now I'm being judged because I'm here in another foreign country. And that's fine. People are going to judge what they don't understand. And they're going to fear what they don't understand. They're going to, do a lot of things that I don't like when there's a misunderstanding, but it's absolutely nothing I can do about things that I can't control. So I can only be myself. But if I don't want to be in uncomfortable situations, I do as in Rome as Romans do sometimes. Or I just choose the easy route when people are prying for my information. I just lie, because if you're going to ask me, like, do I have a husband? Do I have a husband? I know where the conversation is going to go. So I'm just going to lie and say, yes, I do. Because I do. I mean, my husband is somewhere out there in the world. He's just not presently here, but eventually, he will be. So, yeah, I have a husband. So I just lie. White lies. Yeah, so that is all the advice that I have for you guys today. I hope you like this content. Um, as women, we're a target everywhere in the world, so it's best to look for videos like this where you can get a little advice and insight based on, the cultural differences you'll experience here. But overall, like, you just have to use your discernment, be smart, never go into any situation blindsided. So yeah, seek the information, but don't come here super paranoid because you are what you attract. And if you're just like scared all the time, like people are gonna sense that on you, that vulnerability, and it just makes you even more of a prey. So just walk into the situation confidently. Good and bad things happen everywhere, but I hope I was able to give you guys some insight so that you know how to avoid uncomfortable or maybe potentially dangerous situations when you come here to Africa. So, thank you for watching, and my condolences to the women who have lost their lives in Gambia. Um, Rest in peace, and you guys don't let this discourage you because I'm sure, they're happy that they traveled to Africa and, pursued their purpose before their time. So, I don't regret anything about my journey so far. I feel much safer in Africa than I've ever felt anywhere in America, but you still have to be aware that bad things do happen everywhere and it's going to happen here. But as long as you prepare yourself, you be good. Okay? So just think positively and move confidently. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, you guys. One love. Bye.